Make America great again. Back in my day, the good old days. You've heard it 1,000 times.
The 1950s. Perfect families, strong economy, safe neighborhoods. America at its peak. But was life actually better back then? Or are we remembering a version of the 50s that never really existed? Let's compare the myth to the actual data, because the numbers tell a very different story. We're breaking down 12 major aspects of life, then and now. Number 1, economic prosperity. This is the big one everyone talks about, the booming 50s economy. A house cost $7,400. Average income was $3,300. That's a house for just over 2 years of income. Today, the median home costs 6 to 8 times the median income. Housing was genuinely more affordable. One income could support a family. That's real. But here's what they don't tell you. That house was 950 square feet, 1 bathroom, no air conditioning, no dishwasher, no second car. Today's average home is 2.5 times larger with infinitely more features. The poverty rate in 1950 was 22%. Today, it's 11%. Twice as many Americans lived in poverty. That booming economy, it wasn't booming for everyone, only for white middle-class families. And economic mobility? Actually higher today. More paths to the middle class exist now than existed then. Number 2, life expectancy and health. This one's not even close. In 1950, average life expectancy was 68. Today, it's 79. You get 11 extra years of life. There were no MRIs, no CAT scans, no chemotherapy, no organ transplants, no bypass surgery. Heart attack, 30% survival rate. Cancer, 25%. Most strokes were fatal. Polio epidemics killed and paralyzed thousands of children. Parents were terrified every summer. Infant mortality was 29 per 1,000 births. Today, it's 5. Having a baby was genuinely dangerous. Maternal mortality was 4 times higher. No ultrasounds, no fetal monitoring, no epidurals. Basically, every medical technology we rely on was invented after the 50s. Even going to the dentist meant actual torture. Modern anesthesia barely existed. Number 3, civil rights. If you weren't a white man, the 50s were not the good old days. Segregation was legal. Separate schools, restaurants, water fountains, bathrooms. This was normal. Emmett Till was murdered in 1955 for allegedly whistling at a white woman. His killers were acquitted. Black Americans were systematically prevented from voting through poll taxes, literacy tests, and violence. Women couldn't get credit cards in their own names, couldn't get loans without a male cosigner. Many jobs were legally closed to them. Only 34% of women worked outside the home, mostly as secretaries, teachers, or nurses. Being gay was classified as a mental illness. Police routinely raided gay bars. You could be fired, arrested, institutionalized. It was legal to discriminate in housing, employment, and public accommodations based on race, sex, or sexuality. Are things perfect today? Absolutely not. But they're incomparably better than the 50s for anyone who wasn't a white, straight man.
Number 4, technology and daily convenience. This isn't even a contest.
Housework took 40 hours a week. Everything was manual. Washing clothes was an all-day job. No microwaves. Dishwashers were rare. Most people didn't have clothes dryers. Air conditioning was a luxury. Only 10% of homes had AC. People slept on fire escapes in summer. Heat stroke deaths were common. Phones were rotary. Many families shared party lines with neighbors. Long-distance calls cost a fortune. Television had 3 channels, black and white. Programming stopped at midnight. That was your entertainment. Need information? You had encyclopedias or the library. No Google, no instant access to human knowledge. No internet,
No cell phones, no GPS, no Amazon, no Netflix, no email. You lived in a tiny information bubble. Number 5. Food. People love to say food was better in the 50s. Was it really?
The average grocery store had 3,000 items. Today, it's over 40,000. Variety was extremely limited. Fresh produce was only available in season. Want strawberries in December? Tough luck, you ate canned. Food quality was questionable. Gelatin molds with vegetables suspended in them, meat in aspic. TV dinners were revolutionary. Ethnic cuisine was virtually non-existent. Chinese food maybe. Good luck finding Thai, Indian, or Japanese. Restaurant options? Diners and steakhouses. The food scene was incredibly bland and homogeneous. Food safety regulations were minimal. DDT was sprayed on everything, lead paint, asbestos insulation. Nobody knew. Today, you can order Thai food on their phone and have it delivered in 30 minutes. That would be science fiction in the 50s. Number 6. Education and opportunity. The 50s are famous for the GI Bill and expanding education, but there's more to the story. Only 15% of Americans went to college, and they were overwhelmingly white and male. Black college enrollment was 4.4%. Women were actively discouraged from pursuing STEM fields. Schools were legally segregated until 1954. Even after Brown versus Board of Education, integration was violently resisted. Only 50% of Americans finished high school. Today, it's 87%. If you didn't go to college, your options were factory work, military, or farming. That was it. Today, there are community colleges, online degrees, trade schools, coding boot camps, financial aid programs. More people from more backgrounds access higher education today than at any point in history. Number 7. Crime and safety. People claim the 50s were safer. The data says otherwise. Violent crime rates in the 50s were actually comparable to today. The difference? It wasn't reported the same way. Domestic violence was considered a private family matter. Marital rape wasn't even a crime. Child abuse went unreported. Spousal rape wasn't illegal in all states until 1993. Workplace sexual harassment wasn't recognized. Hate crimes weren't tracked. Car deaths were 3 times higher per mile driven. No seatbelts, no airbags, no crumple zones. Cars were death traps. Workplace deaths were 38 per 100,000 workers. Today, it's 3.5. OSHA didn't exist until 1970. You could smoke on airplanes, in hospitals, around children. Lead paint, asbestos, no safety standards. Life was objectively more dangerous. Number 8. Entertainment and culture. This is completely subjective, but let's look at the options. You had 3 TV channels. You watched what was scheduled when it was scheduled. The whole family watched together because there was one TV. The Hays Code censored everything. No profanity, no drug references. Married couples slept in separate beds on TV. Movies? One local theater showing one film. You saw what was playing or you didn't see a movie. Music was radio or vinyl records. No portability. Records were expensive. You couldn't carry music with you. Entertainment was a shared communal experience because there were no other options. Today, you have unlimited streaming, gaming, music on demand, podcasts, YouTube, infinite entertainment choices at your fingertips. Number 9. Work-life balance. People think the 50s had better work culture. Let's check.
The 40-hour workweek was new thanks to unions, but there was no flex time, no remote work, no work-life balance concept. Vacation was 1 to 2 weeks if you were lucky, no parental leave, no guaranteed sick days, no FMLA protections. Women were expected to quit working when they got married. Pregnancy could get you fired. This was legal and normal. Job security was higher. You could work one job for 40 years, but career flexibility was 0. You were stuck. Most jobs were physically demanding, repetitive, and dangerous. No ergonomics, no safety regulations, no variety. Today, there's remote work, gig economy, freelancing, career changes, more flexibility, and more legal protections.
Number 10. Environment. The 50s were an environmental disaster. Air pollution was completely unregulated. Rivers caught fire. Cities were covered in smog so thick you couldn't see across the street. The Cuyahoga River in Ohio caught fire multiple times because it was so polluted with industrial waste. DDT was sprayed on everything. Lead was in paint and gasoline. Asbestos in every building. Nobody understood the health effects. The government exploded over 100 nuclear bombs in the atmosphere. Radioactive fallout drifted across the country. The EPA didn't exist. The Clean Air Act wasn't passed until 1963. Clean Water Act, 1972. Air and water quality are dramatically better today. We have a long way to go, but the 50s were a toxic nightmare. Number 11. Childhood. People romanticize 50s childhoods. Free-range kids, playing outside, but there's another side. Kids did have more unsupervised freedom, no helicopter parenting. That part's true. But there were no car seats, no bike helmets, no playground safety standards. Kids died from things that are preventable today. Corporal punishment was standard. Teachers could hit students. Parents were encouraged to spank. Abuse often went unnoticed. Child labor was still common in agriculture. Farm kids often got minimal education because they were needed for work. Kids had fewer toys, less entertainment, more outdoor play and imagination. That's the trade-off. Modern childhood is safer but more restricted. 50s childhood was freer but more dangerous. Pick your trade-off.
And finally, number 12. Mental health. This might be the biggest difference of all.
Mental illness was deeply stigmatized. People were institutionalized for depression. Lobotomies were common, electroshock without anesthesia. Depression wasn't recognized as a medical condition. Anxiety disorders didn't exist as diagnoses. PTSD was called shell shock, and soldiers were told to get over it. Women with depression were diagnosed with housewife syndrome and prescribed amphetamines or told to have more children. Therapy was shameful. Only crazy people saw psychiatrists. Today, therapy is normalized and increasingly accessible. Mental health meant conformity. If you didn't fit the molds, you were sick. Homosexuality was classified as mental illness until 1973. Modern understanding of mental health is immeasurably better. We have effective medications, evidence-based therapy, and decreasing stigma. So, was life better in the 1950s? The answer is, it depends entirely on who you were. If you were a white, straight, middle-class man, yeah, some things were probably easier. Housing was cheaper, jobs were plentiful. If you were a woman, a person of color, LGBTQ, disabled, or poor, life was objectively much harder. The 1950s we remember from TV shows and advertisements never existed for most people. Housing affordability? Yes. Single-income families? Yes. Job security? Yes. Those things were genuinely better. But healthcare, life expectancy, civil rights, technology, opportunity, safety, environmental quality, and mental health awareness are all dramatically better. The real question isn't when was life better, it's better for whom and in what specific ways. Nostalgia is powerful. It filters out the bad and amplifies the good. That's human nature. But when politicians talk about going back to the good old days, ask yourself, good for who? Because for most people, those days weren't that good. The 1950s of Leave It to Beaver were a TV fantasy. The real 50s were complicated, unfair, and often brutal.
So no, life wasn't universally better in the 50s. It was better in some ways for some people, and worse in most ways for most people. Instead of going backward, maybe we should take the few good things from the past, like affordable housing, and combine them with the progress we've made. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe if you want more myth-busting content. And remember, history is complicated. Anyone selling you simple answers is lying. Let me know in the comments, would you actually want to live in the 1950s? Be honest.